All right, so we're on to 1-9, and I've skipped number 1 because I want you to try number 1 on your own. Just don't forget that on number 1 there are 2 answers. One is which box has more oranges, and how many more does that box have. Number 2 says that on his camping trip, Gus saw 18 hawks. He saw 6 times as many hawks as he did owls. How many owls did Gus see? He saw 6 times as many hawks, which means he saw more hawks. So this will be owls. We know that it says right here he saw 18 hawks. He saw 6 times, which we know goes like this. So now we have what times 6 equals 18. Or we could say, here we're going to call it W instead of O. We could say 6W equals 18, same thing, which is the same thing as saying 18 divided by 6 equals W. And there are 3 6s in 18, so he saw 3 owls. Number 3 says, Melissa collected 3 kinds of autumn leaves when she was out walking today: elm, maple, and oak. She has 2 times as many maple leaves as elm leaves, and 5 times as many oak leaves as elm leaves. Altogether, she has 32 leaves. How many of each kind does she have? So this is a confusing problem. We just have to slow it down and take it apart. She has 2 times as many maple leaves as elm leaves. She has 5 times as many oak leaves as elm leaves. So elm is the smallest. And basically what we want to look at here is that elm plus maple plus oak is my total. So we're going to make elm E because we don't know how many elm there are. We actually don't know how many any of them are. It says that there are 2 times as many maple as elm. So maple would be 2E because 2E is saying the same thing as 2 times E or twice as many elm, which means that oak, it says that there are 5 times as many elm. So we have 5E equals our total, which it tells us right here, is 32. So now we have to go to those algebraic chains. We have 1E plus 2E gives us 3, plus 5 is a total of 8. So we have 8E equals 32. So how many 8s are there in 32? Or remember, that's the same thing as saying 32 divided by 8. And that gives us that E equals 4. We aren't done. It asks us how many of each kind she has. So now we have to go back up here to this. So E equals 4. So she has 4 elm. Well, that's kind of hard to see. 4 elm. Here it says that maple is 2 times elm. Well, if she has 4 elm, 2 times 4, she has 8 maple. Oak, it says she has 5 times E, and E is 4. So 5 times 4 is 20. So this here tells us how many of each tree she has. Number 4 says, everyone at Luke's party has 2 balloons except Ashley because one of her balloons popped. There are 17 balloons at the party. How many people are at the party? How I'm going to do this is I'm going to give, for now, Ashley back her balloon. Pretend it didn't pop. So instead of there being 17 balloons, I'm going to think to myself there's 18 because Ashley popped hers. Well, if everybody has 2 balloons, this person has 2, this person has 2, this person has 2, we are dividing this 18 out by 2. And now you just have a basic math fact. How many 2's are there in 18? That gets us to 9. So there are 9 people at the party. Patty bought 5 harmonicas for $3 each and 4 whistles for $3 each. How much money did she spend? Here's where we have to use our parentheses. So she bought 5 for 3, and then she bought 4 for 3. So we're going to write that out as 5 times 3 and 4 times 3. And because this is something separate from this, we're going to add the two of them together. Basically, we're saying harmonicas plus whistles gives us our total. So now I'm going to have to go down here. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 3 is 12. And when I add them together, I have $27 that she spent. We're looking at algebraic chains again. Remember, when there's not a number in front of the variable, it's the same thing as saying there's just one of them. So let's pretend that C stands for cats. You have 1 cat plus 3 more cats, which gives you a total of 4 cats equals 32. Now you're going to say how many 4s are there in 32, or you can do your 4 count bys and count on your fingers. And if we do 32 divided by 4, that gets us 8, so C equals 8. Here again, if we look, we've got, pretend that these are dogs, and we say, okay, we have 6 dogs and 3 of the dogs run away. We're down to 3 dogs, so I'm going to put 3D here. But now I have to add 2 of the dogs came back, so I have 3 plus 2, which is 5, and I'm going to add that D back on for dogs. And I'm going to say that it equals 35. And if I do my 5 count bys, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and I'm doing it on my fingers, I'll get up to 7. And then finally, if I have, let's say, apples, and I'm holding 5 apples, and I throw away 1 apple, I'm now down to 4 apples. And then I throw away 2 more, I'm going to be down to 2 apples. So I have 2 apples equals 18. If I do my 2 count bys, or remember I can say 18 divided by 2 equals 9. So A equals 9. Now we're taking these algebraic chains again, and we have 6 H's plus 3 H's gives us a total of 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 H's equals 63. So I can either do my count bys of 9, or I can say 63 divided by 9, or I can say 9 times what equals 63. No matter what you do, we get 7. So in this case, H equals 7. Here, I have 1 M plus 3 M's. So I have 1 plus 3 gives me 4 equals 28. And again, I'm going to say, what do I multiply by 4 to get to 28? Or 28 divided by 4 equals what? And I know that that is 7. And then finally here, this one's a little bit confusing because we have to remember that when a number is right next to the parentheses, that it is multiplication. But we also need to remember that we're going to do what's in parentheses first because of order of operations. So we have 7 minus 2 is 5, and now we're going to multiply that 5 to the 9, and obviously we're not going to put the 9 right next to the 5 because that becomes 95. And then we have 45 for S. I'm leaving 2, 5, and 8, the middle column, for you to try to do on your own because all of those look somewhat like the ones that were in the first column. If we look here at the third column, we do our parentheses like this. So we have 16 and we have 6. We subtract the 2 and we get that L equals 10. These tend to be very hard for us because we have a hard time seeing them. It's asking when you divide something into 8s, because the fraction is 8, you're dividing it out. What do you divide by 8 in order to get 6? Or we can flip that because it's saying what do you divide by 8 to get 6. We know because of our fact families we can flip this whole thing around and instead say 6 times 8 equals what, going this way. And 6 times 8 is one of our basic math facts, and that gets us to 48. And then number 9 I'm going to leave you to do on your own because that's a pretty basic one. We know that to find area is taking the length and multiplying it by the width. If we already know that the area is 48 and we know that the length is 16, but they're telling us we don't know what the width is. So what do we multiply 16 by to get to 48? And sometimes with this, if we can't remember how to do our double digits, we can just add, and we can say 16 plus 16 is 32. We're not at 48 yet, so I'm going to add another 16, and that gets us to 48. So there are 1, 2, 3 16s. So the width of the rectangle is 3 centimeters because there are 3 16s in 48. Then for number 14, if you're watching this, just put an X through number 14. And then for number 5, just try to give one example where you can get to 100. And now you're done.